Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of You Are the Guide. Today, we're going to be talking astrology, specifically about a very special and unique transit that most people will experience at some time in life called the Pluto Square Pluto. And it happens to people usually between the ages of 36 years old all the way up to 60. But for the majority of people, it's between 36, 37 to 43 years old most commonly, but it could happen differently for everybody. I've been wanting to share this with you because I personally have been going through this Pluto square kind of transformation. And it's been something, and I just feel like I want to talk about it. I want to put it out there. So let's get started. Let's just jump into it. Just know that if you're listening to this, it's not in any way, shape, or form to create any fear. Where life is all about change, so we're always changing anyway. If you look back 10 years ago, you're not the same person you were 10 years ago. So of course you're going to continue to transform. One very unique thing about this transit is that it happens at the same time of what many people call the midlife crisis. So it's at that period when you're just turning 40 that you go through a very deep transformation. It can be internal, it can be spiritual, or it can be regarding things and experiences, situations in your life. So I want to talk about it, and I want to share with you my story of what has been happening with mine. And I didn't even know, I mean, it was just life, right? I didn't even know what it was. But then I started getting more into astrology and the dates, like how specific it is. It blew my mind. Of like, I used to not believe in astrology the way that I do now. And I don't even like to say believe. I used to not know astrology the way that I do now, but because I've been spending years learning about it. The more I learn about astrology, the more real and specific and accurate that I see that it is, that anyways, it always blows my mind. So get comfortable. If you're driving, pay attention to the road, but continue to listen to the podcast. Get a tea, get something to drink. If you, before you listen, if you like to look at your chart so you have an idea where you have Pluto and where that is for you, you can always do that. You can go to astro.com, just because that's the one that I use, but you can actually do it anywhere. And it will give you an idea of where's your Pluto, your natal Pluto, meaning where Pluto was the moment you were born, and where is Pluto now. And that is what we're talking about. The aspect that those two make, which we call it a square. A square in astrology, anytime you have a square, meaning two planets that have an aspect that is a square, it's usually a challenging aspect. It's an aspect that is going to push you through the experiences that you need to grow and evolve. Now, Pluto, and many people have been talking about Pluto recently, is the planet of transformation, is the planet of pure transformation. Almost like, in a way, it wants to, the way that I like to describe it, it likes to light everything on fire just to see what ends up being there at the end, which is only the pure truth. Like, it doesn't care, it has no agenda, but just how can we get to the core. Pluto is also, for many people, connected to power. And power can be viewed in any way. It can be viewed as a positive thing. It could be viewed as a negative thing, but we all carry power within us. Sometimes the things that are getting in the way of stepping into our power are the things that we're not willing to let go of. So, for many of us, when we're approaching our 40s, in this case for me, I'm 39 right now, and I actually started going through a process of Pluto square together with my Venus being square Pluto. So Pluto square Pluto, Venus square Pluto, when I was 38, 37, when I was 37. And that is the moment that my whole life took a turn like a movie. Like, if it was, my life was a movie, probably would have, like, that would have been like a big chapter of it. Um, And for many of us, when we're turning 40 or when we're just in our adult life, because it can happen at any time, at some point, there's this experiences and pressure that builds where we go, it's time to transform. It's time to let go of the old. You may not even recognize who you used to be before or after your Pluto square. And it's interesting. There's other, like, we could say, challenging and important aspects in astrology. This is not the only one. One of the ones that many people talk about is Saturn return. So wherever you have Saturn, Saturn is the planet of like discipline, the almost like dad energy, dad as a father energy of like that authority, that being willing to do the work, where you have to do what you need to do, like a lot of lessons, a lot of hard work comes with Saturn. So wherever you normally have Saturn in your chart, whatever house, whatever sign, that may be an area of your life where you constantly have to work hard at. So when Saturn goes around, which takes 29 years for the majority of people, and it goes around like on top of your original Saturn, people tend to go through a very big life experience where people go like, oh, nothing is the same. And people think like, that's it. I went through my Saturn return. But then you start getting close to 40 and you realize there's such thing called as Pluto square Pluto, and it just comes and transforms you. So let me tell you a little bit about my story with this. So just keep in mind, just a refresher, Pluto, the planet of deep transformation, of power, of wanting to just stand absolutely in the truth, and everything else goes. And it doesn't care. It doesn't care the attachment. It doesn't care in what form or way it needs to come and show you. It will just show you the truth. The more that you resist, the more that you resist change, the more that you resist your growth, the more that you hold on to outdated ideas, ideas that are not even yours. They're from other people in your life, your past. The more that you refuse to evolve with the flow of life, the more challenging this is going to feel. If you are down for the opportunity, if you're like, let's grow, let's do this, it tends to be a lot less challenging because you're just curious about what's the next step for you, what's the next thing for you. But it's not necessarily easy. I was listening to I think it was a podcast or a YouTube video of an astrologer speaking about Pluto Square. And similar to this, like she was sharing her story. She has already fully gone through it. I haven't fully gone through it. So it's great that I'm filming this now. And then a few years from now, I'll come back and be like, wow, I thought I knew what was going on then. And maybe I have no idea. But anyway, she was saying, I already went through it and I can talk about it. And it's not necessarily bad, but I would not go back and do it again. Like that was good. Like that was fine. I don't want to go back and do it again. So that's kind of how I feel, and I'm still in the middle of it. But the reason why I say I'm in the middle of it, which I want to explain, and I hope I don't lose you too much if you don't know that much about astrology, is that my Venus, planet of relationships, value, even in a way, things, material things, is conjunct, like right next to, almost on top of my Pluto. So whatever is going on with my Pluto is going on with my Venus, and whatever is going on with my Venus is going on with my Pluto. So when Pluto, wherever it's now, when it's transitioning through where it was happening, like where it was going around March of 2021, it did as like a direct square to my Venus. So let me take you back to March of 2021 in my life. Back then, let's even say February of 20, because I want to explain to you how I went through this. February of 2021. I'm in a relationship, in a very committed relationship that I actually genuinely, this is where things get tricky. I actually genuinely believe that I really want to be in. Like, I want to be in this relationship. I'm committed. Our finances are not together. Everybody makes their own money, but we're both supporting a household. Um, you know, it's a big deal, like the type of relationship I was in. And just thinking that I was committed and I was in that relationship, my security was living in that home. My finances were coming through my personal business with my coaching, my hypnotherapy services that I was doing already back then for, I don't know, 8 years or more. My online courses, I was very passionate about teaching about how to master your emotions, my online courses. And all of my truth, my energy, my belief, my life was in that. Like I couldn't even tell you like I feel like I'm being like not interested anymore in my relationship, or I feel like I'm not interested anymore in my business, nothing. Like I'm just like actually I was doing very good. It was after the pandemic, or still we kind of in it, but the pandemic really helped my nervous system because, and I know some people can relate to this, not everybody, but not seeing people was good for me. Like I needed that space. I needed to be away from people. I like being home. I discovered how much I thrive when I work alone and I work from home serving others. So the combination of I am serving others, but I'm doing it at my own pace and alone really healed my nervous system. It was very good. Um, so that's kind of where I was at, like if you and I would be talking in February of 2021 and you would say like imagine your life 4 or 5 years from now, it would not be at all how it is now. Not because there's anything wrong with my life. I love my life even more now, but because I was just in a whole other reality. That's the only way I can explain it. I was in a complete different reality. In March of 2021, and I think it was to the date because I was like looking at this the other day when Venus, where when I was born, where Venus was the planet of relationships and finances and value, literally squared where Pluto was. It's like if you got this beautiful fire, like this flame of transformation, and lit my whole life on fire and said, only the truth will stand at the end of this. Let it burn. And it all burned. By just gonna to show you April of 2021. So it was February, at the end of February, I was in that life that I just described. By April of 2021, I was living in a complete different place in a new apartment. That relationship was completely over, and I felt at 100% peace with it being over. When in February, I was like, I don't ever see it ending because this is where we are. No, it's over. I am completely changing careers. I'm no longer like pursuing my business. I'm still in the path of serving because that's really in my soul and my being, but in a complete different way. There's new friends and people in my life. The people that I talk every day, completely new. It actually happened in March, but I'm just to make it a more like it started in the transition was March, right? This was February. In March, all of this changes, and in April, I'm in a complete different life. I don't know how that even happened. I cannot even explain to you how it happened because it was not one conscious decision. It was a transformation where life and events and myself and me following my intuition came together. And I always describe it to people. I feel like I literally walked into a different reality. And I thought that was it. No, that was just the beginning of the transformation because I'll get more into it. But after that, my spiritual beliefs started changing. I used to practice meditation every single day. There was not a day that I would not do a mantras. My connection with God was different now, in a not necessarily, not at all gone and not bad, but I was communicating with this universal energy in a complete different way. The people in my life were different. My interests were beginning to change. And the full transformation has been happening slowly, and that was only Venus. Like pretty much what was being purified in my life was internally my values regarding relationships, internally my values and the security I wanted from the way I was generating finances in my life, the security that I felt with where I live and like my things, the type of partner that I want. And because the clarity through this Pluto square, or call it midlife crisis, or call it whatever else you would want to call it, whatever that was that happened, the clarity was so strong that I could not even be a self to stay in the same situation. There were technicalities and things that happened For example, being my partner was lying and I found out about some information. Now, normally, I'm assuming for a lot of people, you find certain information, meaning literal information. Like found information in her phone, things like that. It wasn't somebody told me. No, I saw it with my own eyes. It was confirmed. I never thought, like, let's talk about it and let's like see what we can do or what's been going on. Nothing. It was like, this happened, let's say on a Tuesday, where I find out the information. On a Wednesday, I go out and I look at apartments. On a Friday, I sign my lease. And by the next weekend, I'm out. This was not necessarily a smart decision based on the fact that I was out within 7 days, slowly, because it took me a while to get a lot of my like random things there. And that's a whole other story of the fact that the majority of my things, a lot of my things, not the majority, but a lot of my things, I ended up leaving them there. And I was at peace with leaving them there, but it was confusing because, like I said, things that I valued that made me feel like me or what was mine, suddenly it wasn't mine anymore. So everything was changing and I was okay with it, but it was confusing and I was agreeing to it, but I was like feeling things inside. So it was a whole thing, but I'm out. But what I'm saying is now I'm out and all of my bills duplicate, right? So my finances change and I'm a complete different place. It's all transforming. I know it's sounding like right now kind of like a chaotic, dramatic situation, but just looking back because of that, I love my job right now. Like I really love my job. I love the company that I work for. I love the stability that it brings me. I almost feel like if that would not have happened, probably I would never be where I am now. And I would not want that. I'm here recording this for you in a peaceful state with my nervous system regulated because of all of those changes. Like it's been so much good that has come out of it that it's kind of crazy to believe that. And it's not because my partner was bad. Okay, things happened, but in general, she's a great person. You know, she's a really good person and it was just time to go. But what I'm trying to say here is sometimes there's certain periods of transformation in your life where the truth of what you need to do is so loud. There was no other option for me. There was no fear when I took that step. I just did it. And because of taking that step and just leaving, it transformed all of my reality through a lot of growth. But yes, so that is just one example. Then go, so now my living situation is completely different. My finances are changing. So that is where this is not necessarily easy because for me there was a lot of deep soul searching. What really shook me to the core is like, you can I can move. I've moved my whole life. Like when I went to school from kinder to 12th grade, I've gone to 12 different schools. I've moved my whole life so much that moving for me, it's almost like I know that more than a stable home. So that's always been there. And even though I don't necessarily enjoy it, like I don't think it's fun, I can do it. um the end of relationships is very, very hard, but there is something in me that always has this sense of faith or trust in that if something ends, it's because it was time for it to end. Like that person and you already shared everything that needed to be shared. It's time to move on to the next thing. But the one thing of why this was hard, because after I moved, I'm going to share with you, I did go through a deep depression, was the fact that the way that I view my relationship with God changed. And that had never happened. Since I was a little girl, I always knew that I was here to serve God. Like even when my mom wouldn't go to church, I wanted to go and like and volunteer. Like before it was church, and then my spirituality evolved, and then I studied different religions, but and spiritual practices. But the fact is that at the core, no matter what happened at the outside, I always had this very clear understanding of where I was with the way I communicated with God. And during this chapter, when Pluto said, I'm burning it up to the ground, all of it, whatever you think you know, we're going to test it. And we're going to test it and put it on fire, light it on fire and see if it stands strong at the end. And for a moment there, I said, I don't know how to connect with God the way that I used to. And I could not even tell you that I felt scared more than I felt like a part of me literally died. And that's when I went into this depression. I was still functional, but this depression led me to like crying for a year every day. Like I was just crying. Things were changing. The way I view myself changed. The way I even looked physically changed. It has continued to go. I know recently I've been talking about quitting drinking. And I know for some of you, maybe you see people all the time quitting drinking, like, oh, whatever, something else people did, or people close to me. I don't know what they think about it. I mean, everybody's supportive, but I don't know if in their mind they're like, oh, Luciana's gonna go back and drink. I don't know how to explain to you the way that I don't see alcohol at all the same way. And I have never experienced that before because in the past I had like almost like a relationship with alcohol. And I think that this whole experience also lit it like on fire and it was like, is this really what you're looking for? Anyways, so so much change, like so much change happening at once. The one thing that kind of pull me through all of this is my consistent curiosity of personal growth and personal development because I always want to learn. Like I always want to learn more. And that is when I started to go even deeper into learning more about astrology. And it was so interesting, like just so interesting to discover that nature, the universe, the planets, life influences us. Like we don't, sometimes we think like we're, I don't know, this makes me laugh sometimes when I think about it, but we think we know a lot. We think we're like above things. We're not. Like we're nature. I think I shared this in a story once. It's a quote that I read where it said, nature, and I'm talking about the world and also the universe and the planets and whatever we think we know and whatever we don't even know, is indifferent to human life. Meaning, nature does not care about our attachments or our pets or if we're feeling sad today. Like, nature is just nature. It's all about just evolution, existence, birth, death. And that is what Pluto is about. Pluto is birth, death, rebirth, transmutation, transformation, power. It can be a shadow of negativity, of power, of obsessiveness, of control, or it can be the light of power, of standing in truth and leadership. But it can be it all, and it can be all of it all at once. And yeah, so that's when I started learning, like, I actually believe that the planets and the moon and everything to a certain level does affect us. I feel that nature and the weather and everything that's going on plays a role in how we feel. Not to dictate everything that we do, but it's just so interesting the way it kind of so accurate. Well, moving on, that was just Pluto purifying my Venus, like to the core, which that chapter actually has ended at some point this last year in 2023. It took all that time to go through it. Just so my Pluto that's next door to it enters now into the square with Pluto and starts its process of purification. For all of you right now that are watching this, if you were born around maybe 83, 84, 85, or I don't know how much, but around that time. So you're maybe like 38, 39, 40. If you're listening to this, your Pluto most likely is around, give or take, where my Pluto is. So you've been going through some stuff as well. I don't know what other planets you have there. So maybe you don't have Venus there. So it has nothing to do with relationships and finances and everything I just mentioned. But at some point, probably soon, if it's not already happening, your Pluto is going to go square with Pluto. But what I wanted to say is that the interesting thing is that Pluto was in the planet of Capricorn for like 15 years. And last year in 2023, exited Capricorn and entered Aquarius at 0 degrees. And then, being at 0 degrees, exited again and went back to Capricorn, 29 degrees, 28 degrees. And then finally this year, it entered again into Aquarius at 0 degrees, 1 degree. And then it's going to be doing that dance again this year until next year. What I'm trying to say is that for those of us that have early degrees of Pluto, if your Pluto, most likely in Scorpio or in Libra, is late degrees of Libra, like 28, 29, or in Scorpio, 0 degrees or 1 degree, we are the lucky ones that we get to have this period of Pluto square for like 3 years. Or since, like, with the shadow period and everything, 2 years at least, because normally it just passes and it may take 6 months or whatever, or maybe a year. But for us, it's been like a dance of it comes in and it exits and it goes in because it's what it's doing. And for those of us, I do believe it's because we want that. We want this to really, really, like, it's an opportunity for us to see deep within ourselves, like, what is there that I don't want to see? What is there that I don't want to master? What is there where I still want to be as self? And look at it one time. Second, I think it's going to do the dance 5 times for us. So, like, I have my Pluto in 0 degrees of Scorpio. So anytime that Aquarius is in 0 degrees or 29 of or Capricorn 29, 0 of Aquarius or 1 of Aquarius, it's literally affecting me. And for many of us, for you as well, not in a bad way, remember. It's showing you something. It wants you to look. I have friends that during this time they've completely chose different careers. Like, they've been like, "Hey, I didn't tell you, but now I'm gonna be doing this," and I enter school again to do something completely different from what they ever told you they were interested in. And you're like, "Oh, really?" You can see that something in them is changing beyond what they, maybe what they know, for sure beyond what you know yet, because they're transforming. And now you see your friends and you're getting to know them again in some ways. Now, if you hold on to dear life to the past or who you used to be and what you used to believe in, this is where things can get challenging. I was listening to what astrologer mentioned. If you resist the lessons of your Pluto square Pluto, a lot of the times that is where the root of a possible illness in your future elderly life starts. It's where you're resisting something in life, your body feels that pressure, and then in your 50s, in your 60s, you start now finally see the result of everything that your body resisted. And it's scary to let go. Because, like I said, sometimes it has to do with our beliefs, with our faith. It has to do with the way we make money. It has to do with the amount of money we've been making and now different. It has to do with letting go of a house, a property, the style of living that you have. It has to do with the type of love that you thought existed or the type of love you receive, or even the type of friends that you have now around you, the habits you used to do. You know what I mean? Like, everything. But it's not bad because now you get to see what is on the other side. So, I would invite you, if you're during, like, in this age group and you're curious about this, go out there and look at your chart. And there's probably even a calculator out there where you can go on Google and say Pluto square Pluto calculator, and then you'll put your date of birth and it'll give you, give or take, the time frame of when you're going to be experiencing this. Just to share with you what I see on my app, I use an app called time, what is it, time passages. I think it's pretty cool. Time passages. When I go to my transits, and let me see, just to share with you because it's fun. So when I go through my transits, my Pluto square Pluto, that part started in February the 5th of 2023. That's where it started. And it's ending in January the 3rd of 2026. Beautiful. 3 beautiful years of this experience, plus the 2 of the Venus square. And I have found that now I am the most authentic that I've ever been. It's like all of the BS that was around the way that I existed and the shame that I felt around myself, and even like who I wanted to be online, or what I would put out there, is gone. And that is why, for those of you that have maybe followed me for a while, there was for a long time I could not post anything on social media. Like, if even if I would go look at my old post, I was like, I don't connect with that at all. And I was feeling like confused about that. And I didn't have anything to say. And it was until more recently that I felt that calling of wanting to come out here and just have these type of conversations. And hopefully very, very soon, starting to have guests here. So don't worry, I will be having guests. It's just that the time for that has been challenging. It's been a process as well, but it's all about adapting. If I can tell you, like, I'm not even like, I could not say I fully have gone through this process, so I don't hold, do not take any of this as wisdom. You discover you and you do what you need, or you don't even believe it in this if you don't want to. But if I could give any type of advice, I guess, if we can call it that, is be willing to welcome the changes that happen. Be willing to sit with yourself and question yourself about where you are with what you consider your power, and trust and have faith in the process, regardless of what it is. Here, I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging, but what I'm saying, if you're feeling this feeling like I felt, I need to leave this relationship now and I don't know why. Now, like literally this week, gone out the window. I didn't have an answer for you. If you would have sat me down and be like, let's talk about it, like what's going on, I would have been like, I don't know why, but I just know that that's my next step. And now I'm here and I'm so grateful I did that. That's not the case for everybody. Other people feel the opposite. I feel within the core of my being that I need to work with my relationship and make it work. And I don't know why, because things are like a struggle, but I don't know why I feel I need to make it work. That could be your path, you know? Um, but allow yourself to be curious about the unknown. Pluto's not bad. Pluto wants to show you your truth, your authentic power, and your what do you call it, potential. Like, all of our potential is limited when we believe we already, like, this is it, like this is it, I'm going to live in this life forever with this situation forever and do this thing forever. A lot of the times is there's more. And if nothing on the outside of your life changes, like you're still in the same relationship, you're still in the same job, it may be all internal, the way you view yourself and you view the world. And at the end of the core of what I can share with you is that, it's, if you're going through this, is that Pluto, most, like I said, most likely if you're going through this now, it was in Scorpio or Libra when you were born, but it's squaring Aquarius. Aquarius is the planet of innovation. It wants to do things differently. It wants to care for the whole, not just itself. It wants things to be authentic. And authentic sometimes means natural. Authentic sometimes means just the way it is, without the fluff, without the pretending, without anything. And that is something that I've been contemplating as well. There is something in my being that wants to discover myself in a new light of authenticity, and that wants to see how I can use that authenticity to play my role in with the whole. It's no longer about you are special, you're special, you're special, you're not. No, you go viral, you go viral. No, that's going to end up in the next 18 years. That's not even going to matter anymore. How do you serve? How do who you are, your being, support the collective? And it may be a small little part, not small necessarily, but a simple little part. I think I saw a TikTok of this guy saying, like, what is something that you can do for the collective or your community if we would go back, like if we didn't have internet and things would go back to like a very simple lifestyle? Like, what do you master? Like, what's your gift that you can give to the community? And in the most honest, genuine, real way, he's like, I make great coffee. I can make coffee for people. And I was like, yes, like sometimes our role in the collective is one thing, and that's what you're good at. And you just do that. Sometimes it's inspiring people, and people meaning it could be 5 people. We don't always have to inspire millions of people for it to mean anything. If you inspire 5 people and those 5 people go out and affect the world, that's amazing, but it's time to allow yourself to be authentic. Stop letting the old identities make you believe that you need to hold on to the past, or you need to hold on to a fake persona, if we want to call it, in order to survive, because that's not where your full potential and your growth is. I recently had a breakthrough A few weeks ago, I was in Vegas and I was, it sounds more fun when you just say like that. I was in Vegas, but I was actually at a seminar. So I was waking up early. I was in class all day. I'm not drinking, so I wasn't partying. And one night they had an event. It was so fun. I was just drinking my Diet Coke. But, anyways, um, I was at the event. And when I was walking during like a break, I was walking to the bathroom and there was something happened where the wisdom of information that I've heard, when I tell you what it is, you're going to be like, oh my God, Lucïana, but this is information I've always known and I've heard forever. But for some reason, in that long hallway in the hotel in Vegas, going to the bathroom, I integrated it. It sunk into my being, the truth of this. And I looked around and it all started because I looked to my right and I saw a gentleman that looked like Sadhguru, the spiritual teacher. And I was like, oh my God, imagine I would run into Sadhguru. I would be like, oh my God. And I felt this reverence of like, oh, like everything he has accomplished, everything he knows. And then right away, something, and it wasn't him, it was like this random guy, but that's everything that was happening to, there was a long hallway, okay? This was a whole conversation I had with myself all the way to the bathroom. And then I realized, why was my first instinct to be like, oh my God, like this person has accomplished, and you can admire somebody, but it doesn't mean, my nature was to be like, make myself small. And I realized if Sadhguru was here, Sadhguru is the best Sadhguru that can be, but nobody else can be him. And I realized standing there in that hallway, walking to the bathroom, it sounds so corny, but I just know that what I'm about to tell you is information you've heard, but I felt it in my body was there is nobody in this whole vicinity, this whole hotel that can be the best at being Lucïana. They can be the best at being John and Mary and Alice or whoever. They can be the best at that. Sadhguru can be the best at Sadhguru. I said, but nobody can be the best at Lucïana. There's literally not another Lucïana. And it wasn't to make myself bigger than everybody else. It was to accept within myself the almost like purity, or I don't know if purity is the word, the sacredness of each one of us and how there is nobody like you. And especially in this world where we're saturated with information and everybody and their mom, with the exception of a very few people, in some way or another, sometime wish, like, I wish I could go viral and make money on social media and just like work from home and it could be easy. And my, you know what I mean? Like everybody feels it sometimes when you hear those stories of TikTokers that getting paid a whole lot, lawyer's yearly salary in one video, right? And you're like, shit, I would like that. So we're all thinking about how could I be more special? How could I be like them? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And even though I've known this forever, it hit me and I said, nobody else can be me. Like that's my power. My power is that I am me. Nobody else has the specific combination of my skills, my upbringing, my experience, what I've gone through, what I'm going through. And even astrological, I was like, nobody has the specifics of all of that exactly as it is, based together with the environmental factors of development like me. That is my power. My power, my mission, we want to call it, is to be me. And it was so empowering. And I was telling my girlfriend, like, after that, I started walking down the hallway differently. My body changed, and I was like, and I was like walking down the hall, and I was like, wow, that was a very powerful breakthrough. And I'm just sharing this because I find that that is the feeling of Pluto in Aquarius. We're all feeling it right now. But if you have any placements squaring that Pluto, whatever it is that you're transforming has that flavor of, I want to be authentic. I want to be me, whatever that is. And you want to be you at the core of being you, and you want to be you without having to apologize like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm me, which is something I am also working on right now. So anyway, so that's the story. That's the update that I can give you as of now of Pluto Square Pluto. Let's give it, we said, when was the date that I showed you? January of 2026. So maybe by February of 2026, March, April, I'll make another episode about this topic and I'll let you know what happened in the next. So this is me of the past, for when Luciana of the future watches this, this is you in March of 2024. So we'll see what happened by March of 2026 and what new info or things I have to share with you. But if you're watching this, if you found this either helpful or fun or you had a breakthrough, I would love to hear about it. I don't hold all the knowledge. I'm not an expert on Pluto Square Pluto or even astrology, but I love to learn. So if you know more, leave it in the comments. I would love to have a conversation, and just know that I will continue to come and talk about astrology because it is something that I'm passionate about right now. But with that said, I really want to just thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. I hope all of you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you soon.